Chapter 19. Secrets in the Dark. Our ship's hold was not a nice place. All the supplies not needed daily on deck got stored there. Extra sails, food, and freshwater rations, wine, timbers, and carpenter's tools. Nasty bilge water collected and sloshed around in the bottom. It was dark, echoing, and cold. And then there was the smell. "It stinks like the bloody bowels of the devil down here." The light from my lantern shone on Beau's face. "Shh," I hissed, closing the hatch behind me. "You're supposed to wait for me to come down and give you the signal, not peek your head out where someone can see." I handed Beau the lamp and the food I'd brought before descending the ladder. I'd pinched my nose shut, but I could still taste the bilge-flavored air with every breath. We'd chosen a hiding spot for Beau near the stern where the extra sails were stored. It was drier there, and farthest from the supplies the crew would come looking for. Beau had made a nest for himself out of sailcloth and tarps behind some large crates, so he'd be hidden from sight if someone did come down. "You've got no idea what it's like down here," said Beau. "It's depressing and dark as the inside of a dog's—" "Yes, I know," I interrupted. "You've told me." Beau rolled his eyes. "Sorry, didn't mean to offend your dainty ears." "You might try saying thank you instead. It's a big risk bringing you this food, you know. Not to mention it's food I should be eating myself." I had been hiding him for 4 days. It wasn't easy to get away from my navigation duties and sneak below decks without anyone seeing me. Not only did I have to bring Beau food and water, but I had to carry his night bucket up top and empty it over the side. The first time I did it, I nearly gave up and turned us both in. Anything would be better than tending to this ungrateful, curse-slinging brat. "Hold on." I sniffed and caught a whiff of something smoky mixed in with the bilge. "Have you been lighting candles?" "No." I swung the lantern over Beau's nest and spotted 2 large yellow drops of candle wax. "You have! Are you out of your mind? Do you want to start a fire down here?" "Actually, yeah, I was going out of my mind in the dark, all alone," he spat back. "And you don't need to worry about a fire. I think I know how to handle a stupid candle." "Well, you can't do it anymore," I growled. "I know it's not ideal down here, but you just have to last a few more weeks. We'll be in Fallin by then, and you can get off there." Beau had already half devoured the bean curd and gravy I'd given him. "That's Mankan territory, right?" he asked. "Yes, they surrounded near the start of the war. I'm sure you'll find lots of fools who will let you pick their pockets." I picked up the stubby candle remains. "Where did you get this, anyway?" Beau licked around the rim of his food bowl. "Now, don't go getting upset. Please tell me you didn't leave the hold." "I was like a ghost. No one saw me." "Please tell me you didn't go into—" "Definitely not that skinny widge with all the jars in his room. You snuck into Lark's cabin? You idiot." Beau picked a piece of food out of his teeth with his pinky fingernail. "The man sleeps as heavy as a potato curry." "Ugh, you are hopeless." I threw down the candle stub and grabbed my lantern to start climbing up the ladder. He got to his feet. "Wait, are you coming back?" "Why should I said bitterly. "You're not worth risking my neck for." "Knew I shouldn't have trusted you," he called after me. "I knew you'd treat me like I was nothing, like I was a nobody." I stopped, one hand on the ladder. Suddenly, I could see myself standing in line at the cafe, praying the other assistants didn't notice my dirty shoes. I turned, letting the light from my lamp shine onto his face. "I don't think you're a nobody." He stared back at me, looking as defiant as the day he tried to pick my pocket. I let out a sigh. "Really, that's not what I think. If I did, I wouldn't have helped you at all." He softened. "Sorry for sneaking out. I just wanted to breathe air that didn't smell full of wet farts for 1 minute, that's all." I laughed. "Do you know that you've got a fouler mouth than anyone I've ever met?" He grinned, revealing a deep dimple in his left cheek. "Bet that's not saying much, Lady Sigh." It was saying a lot. Not even Mud's low-life friends cursed as much as Beau. Beau spoke perfect Mankan, but with an accent I couldn't place and R's that rolled off his tongue. He also seemed to know how to swear in every language on earth. I glanced around the dank hold. It truly was a wretched place. I didn't want to be there for 5 more minutes, and Bo had existed like this for days. Just try to hold on a little longer, all right? I'll see if I can figure out a way for you to get out of here. I climbed up the ladder, leaving him behind in the darkness. As I replaced the hatch over the door into the hold, I heard voices echoing around the corner in the narrow passageway ahead. I froze and listened. "You'll shut your mouth then." "But the Harbinger Sea!" My ears pricked to attention. These weren't the voices of adult sailors. They were pups. Why were they talking about the Harbinger Sea? Curious, I lowered the tin cover over my lantern and edged forward in the darkness. I recognized Grebe's voice. "And if you know what's good for you, you won't say another word about it," he hissed. "Please don't do this," begged a small voice in reply. I started round the corner but hesitated. I hated to come face to face with Grebe in such tight quarters. There was a scuffle of feet, and then the small voice squealed, "Don't hurt me!" I lunged around the corner and pulled the cover off my lantern. "Stop it!" Grebe and another boy, much smaller than him, squinted against the sudden flood of light. I recognized the small boy as one of the youngest pups in the crew, maybe even younger than me. Everyone called him Dumpling because of the way his hair twirled to a point on his head. "Did he hurt you?" I asked. Dumpling shook his head, looking more afraid of me than of Grebe. "No, miss. We were just talking, that's all." Grebe's shock at seeing me turned into a sneer. "That's right, just having a nice chat. What are you doing down here?" I let my hair fall over my cheeks as I reached into my apron pocket and pulled out a set of paintbrushes, which I had been carrying around in case I had to explain myself. Payun had me come down and get these out of the storage trunk. When I was coming out of the hold, I heard voices. I looked at Grebe from behind my fringe of hair. It sounded like a pretty big argument. Something about the Harbinger Sea? Dumpling's lower lip quivered as his eyes went between Grebe and me, and then words tumbled out of him in one big gush. "Please, miss, tell your master Mapmaker not to take us there. We can't cross it. It's not right. The spirits will be angry. They'll send the slake after us." Grebe snorted and rolled his eyes. "Here we go again." "What are you talking about?" I asked. "The slake." Dumpling's eyes were wide as tea cakes. "She's the queen of the dragons, and she guards the Sunderlands, devouring any ships that wander near. If we try to cross the Harbinger Sea, she'll come for us." I would have laughed if he hadn't looked so close to tears. "But aren't dragons supposed to be good luck?" I said. Dumpling shook his head. "Not if you disrespect 'em. Please, miss, you've got to tell your master to steer us clear of there. We mustn't look for the Sunderlands. We must leave that place be." This last part seemed to infuriate Grebe. He shook his fist at Dumpling's face. "You shut up about that, or someone is going to make you shut up. I already told you, it's a done deal. We're looking, and if you know what's good for you, you'll pray we find it. I'm not giving up my chance at 2,000 leks because of your stupid ideas." Poor Dumpling was near tears. "What good is a pouch full of money if you're dead in the belly of a dragon?" "Hold on," I said to Dumpling. "How did you hear about all this?" Grebe answered for him. "Everyone always thinks us sailors don't know what's going on, but we got our own eyes and ears." He glowered at me. "Sometimes we know more than anyone else does." "You can't let him take us there," Dumpling begged me. "The Harbinger Sea is where we'll all meet our deaths." I nearly told Dumpling to shut up myself. His sniveling was unbearable. "Please, stop worrying," I told him. "I haven't heard Master Payun even mention the Harbinger Sea or the Sunderlands." Dumpling broke into a relieved smile. "Yes, miss. Oh, thank you, miss. Thank you." He slunk sideways away from Grebe, then ran up the corridor, his feet patting on the wood like a toddler's. Grebe watched him go, but didn't follow. He turned his face to mine. This time I kept my chin up and returned his stare. We were too close for a haircut to hide me now. He tilted his head. "There's something I've been meaning to." "Do you know something strange?" I blurted out. I have this feeling I've seen you somewhere before, but for the life of me, I can't imagine where the two of us would have crossed paths." Grebe held his mouth half open, confused. I went on, doing my best to copy Tippy's upper-class accent. I have it." I snapped my fingers and smiled. "Have you ever been to the Gold Hope Harbor Market?" Yeah," said Grebe, because anyone in Anlung with a pulse had been there. "Yes, that's where it was. My governess took me there once, and you bumped into her and knocked all the packages out of her hands." "Your governess?" I waved my fingers forgivingly. "You didn't even notice or stop to help, but it wasn't your fault. She's such a tiny thing. It was the last time she took me to the market, though. Don't worry, it's all water under the bridge now. But yes, that's where it was. I'd remember you anywhere." I touched my fingers to my hairline and glanced at his scar. I held my breath along with my chipper smile as I waited for his reaction. He stared back at me, and I could see the doubt working into the wrinkles of his forehead. What was more likely, that he remembered my fresh-scrubbed assistant's face from the harbor market or from the grimy alleys of the fens? Finally, he gave me a curt, apologetic bow. He mumbled something I didn't hear, then turned and pounded up the steps. I waited until he was gone, then let out a huge breath and leaned against the wall, swaying with the tilt of the ship as the boards groaned around me. I said a silent thank you to Tippy for teaching me how to be a spoiled brat. I should have known that snobbery would be a better disguise than a haircut. I would have to remember to play up the spoiled manners and accent whenever Grebe was around. The funny thing was that he and I were actually on the same side in a way. We were both eager to go looking for the Sunderlands. In fact, it sounded like the secret of the prize was blown, and the crew had found out about it. If the rest of the sailors were keen as Grebe to go and make their fortunes, then Captain Sangra and Payun were outnumbered. Well, they did have Dumpling, but that kid was ridiculous, going on about a dragon queen. What had he called it? The Slake? Who could take him seriously? I wanted to talk to Rian about all of this, but I knew what she'd tell me. Our only hope was to convince Master Payun that the Sunderlands were worth searching for. It was up to me, and I needed to get to work.